Okay, here we are back in Photoshop for point number 30. I've rotated the shroud 90 degrees counterclockwise, and when I do so, we can get this second hand to actually match up. So when I turn out the layer here and turn it back on again, you will see that yes indeed, the fingers from that first hand on the sarcophagus were used to also make the impression of the second hand on the Shroud of Turin. Point 31. Triangular space matches rotated shroud. So again, we're rotated 90 degrees for that second hand. When I turn the layer on and off, you will see that this space that is next to the hand is a triangular shape that fits very well underneath the triangular shape on the sarcophagus. You may also see that even this area that was next to the fingers that got broken seems to be present. Okay, we are still rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise with the shroud, and we're still matched up with this second hand, and right inside this triangular mark, if you look closely, there is an S shape. What is this S shape for point number 32? I was very excited to find out that it is actually a faint impression of the tassel. And I'll move in closer. You can see this S shape, and as I turn the layer on and off, you will see that this is a perfect match of the tassel beneath it. The rounded part being the bottom of the S and the top coming out here being the cords. So, this is indeed a confirmation that the shroud was rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise to pick up the fingers of the second hand. So, there it is, point number 32, faint impression of the tassel. Point number 33. Supposed stain of nail in hand matches broken spot on sarcophagus and maybe tassel. What I'm talking about here as I zoom in closer is this very dark spot on Jesus' wrist where the nail would have gone through his hand. As I turn the sarcophagus on and off, you can see that just below this mark there is a large broken piece off of the hand of the sarcophagus. I believe that they could have moved the shroud down to fit into that spot and then create that blotch. Another interesting, plausible alternative would be that they moved the shroud into the apex of the triangle here, and that the left and right part of the tassel are what they were using to cause the left and right bleed marks here on the blotch. Point number 34. We now move on to some details in the face. Remember in the beginning we had the flopped shroud and aligned the beard? We're back at that, and the shroud is just moved up so the face of Jesus is over the face of the sarcophagus. Point number 34. Light space by nose matches indent on sarcophagus. This is pretty straightforward. The indentation on the sarcophagus seems to fit right in the spot on the side of the nose. So when I turn the shroud on and off, you will see where there is a light spot on the side of Jesus' nose, and it very well could correspond to this indentation that is on the sarcophagus. Point number 35. Crown of thorns matches size of top of head of sarcophagus. Turning the layer on and off, you can see how we have another great match here. The shape on the shroud matches the shape on the sarcophagus on the top of the head. Pretty straightforward. I will turn the layer on and off so you can see that we have another match. Point number 36. Big round eyes match. When I turn the layer on and off, you will see the match here. We have big round owl-shaped eye sockets on both the shroud and the sarcophagus. Point number 37. Cheek dimension matches on both. Turning the layer on and off, you will see how we have this cheek in the same size between the shroud and the sarcophagus. Point number 38. The often criticized hair standing off the shroud's face matches the large ears on the side of the head of the sarcophagus. It has often been noted that a real person with their head wrapped in cloth could not possibly have hair standing out to the sides like it does on the shroud. It makes no sense. By turning the layer on and off, you will see what it actually is. It is the ears on the side of the head of the sarcophagus. Point number 39. Possible bleed stain onto shield. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep this one really short. You see where I'm pointing this red arrow, and there is a wide bleed coming out to the left of this stain. Underneath the shroud, there is the shield right at that point. So I'm wondering if that bleed went out onto the shield, or perhaps when the shroud was lower and the beards were aligned, that would correspond then to this flat space on the sarcophagus below the tassel that it could have been. And so that's just a quick call out for point number 39. Point number 40. I'm showing you the full shroud here for a second because I want you to see this diamond shape at the bottom of Jesus' legs. I was curious to know whether if I folded the shroud up in half, would it fit inside the arms up here? So I went ahead and did that and folded the shroud, and this is what it looks like. That brings us to our point 40 as I zoom in closer. Point 40 is folded up in half. The bottom of the diamond shape matches the shape of the arm and cross. If you look to the left side of the diamond here, we have this straight line angle, and on the right side it kind of curves, which you will see also aligns with the Hospitaller cross. As I turn the half shroud on and off, you should be able to see how it is in pretty good alignment on the left side, and on the right it even curves to match the Hospitaller cross. Point 41. Top of diamond hits small beard spot as if it's a well-planned designed fold. This is pretty straightforward. As I turn the layer on and off, you can see where I have circled it that the diamond shape seems to come to its point at the beard shape that we began our whole presentation with. Point number 42. Angle of diamond matches heavy cloak line. Look at the angle here of the diamond left and right, and when I turn the shroud on and off, you'll see that the sarcophagus has groove marks that pretty much match that angle. I'm not saying that the stains were made by those grooves. They may or may not have been, but I'm thinking that perhaps it was a planned design element. Point number 43. Now we are looking at the much lesser seen back of the shroud. My point 43 is that the overall shape fits. Turning the layer on and off, you can see how once again, in general, the shroud matches the sarcophagus. Point number 44. Beard impression on back of shroud. When I turn this layer on and off, you should be able to see how the beard of the sarcophagus is impressed into the back image on the Shroud of Turin. Notice how it is wider at the top and comes down to this point at the bottom, exactly what you see on the sarcophagus itself. Point 45. Bump and blotch field matches beard. When I turn the shroud on and off, you will see what I'm talking about. There is a bump that is on the shroud that corresponds to this depression on the sarcophagus. And then you have this open field area of the beard where it looks like those squiggles were added on the shroud. Point 46. Diamond shape above arm fits. Here we have a diamond shape. Again, we're still on the back of the shroud. And when I turn this layer on and off, you will see that it fits right above the arms on the sarcophagus. Okay, everybody, it's time for a speed round. That's because all these points that I'm about to talk about seem to have been put here on the back of the shroud for alignment. We have point number 47. If you look at this dot here, when I turn the shroud on and off, it seems to fall strategically at the top of the knot of the tassel. Point 48, which is below it here, seems to be at a converging point below the tassel and where there's that heavy crease in the sarcophagus. Point 49. These are the finger marks. There are 5 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that appear to mark the edges of the fingers. When I turn this off and on again. And point 50, a little bit different. 2 dots on shroud match on hands. I definitely see a dot here on the shroud, maybe one above it on the shroud, and when you turn the shroud off, you can see stains on the hands of the sarcophagus, so that may be corresponding there as well. So that's our speed round, points 47 through. Point 51. Dot would match if shroud flopped. Inside this circle on the right, you'll see a dark stain. It's a long kind of shape. When I turn the shroud layer off, you will see that on the left side there seems to be the same corresponding stain on the wrist of the sarcophagus. If the shroud was flopped, and picture this being a central point, I believe that those points would hit. Point 52. Foot same size as end piece. Here is the possibility that the shroud was moved down to make the foot blotch on one of the end pieces. It looks to be the right size, and when I turn the layer on and off, notice that the stains within the stains also may correspond. It looks like they could match up right down here in this area. So I'll turn the layer on and off and try to picture this foot stain coming from these end pieces. This concludes my presentation proving that the Shroud of Turin is a forgery created over the sarcophagus of Pierre de Corneillan. Please like and share so that my discovery can get noticed by the academic community. Questions and comments, please send to shroudsolver@aol.com or my Facebook page, Shroud Solver. Special thank you to family and friends for their love and support, and especially to my wife Felicia for her editing suggestions, her love and encouragement.